sometimes we get a little bit overwhelmed. I do too. And I've worked with clients who get overwhelmed. I've had countless students who get overwhelmed. When you teach a bunch of creatives, overwhelm is often a distinct thing that ends up happening. Even when I would present collections as a fashion designer to buyers, they would get overwhelmed too. So they would always look to me for some guidance in how to help them make decisions. And so this is one way that I love to use. I call it the opposite attack. So oftentimes as a fashion designer, say, we would have a whole bunch of sketches that could work for the collection. We would show the buyer. And of course, we're looking to tap into everything we think that buyer wants, but also everything that we think the buyer doesn't know that they want. And there would be more than what was needed. So sometimes it would be, if we needed to select 10, we might have 20. We might even have 30 in an initial meeting because we really wanted to show the breadth and the trends and what the possibilities were. And there might be some things that look kind of similar, which was great from a design standpoint. So you might have a dress that has a particular neckline and sleeves that you really like, but here is a midi length, here is a mini length, here it is as a tunic, something slightly different. And that can be a lot of information, because when you start adding beyond 3 bits of information, it can be a lot to look at. So when I would help the buyers or even my students in decision-making processes, we would often start with not where you think you would start, because they're all like, well, I got to pick X number out of a set. So let's say there's 30 sketches and I got to pick 10. Oh, that's so hard. Sometimes there's that one that you just love and it's very easy, but to get down to the other 10, it feels really overwhelming. It's overwhelming because you're looking at a lot of information. Once you understand that people can see things better in sets of 3, you have a couple of things that you can do. But my very first thing to do is let's do the opposite. So first thing, what don't you like? And then we would remove them from the set. So we would pick out the things that we didn't like, and then all of a sudden it got it reduced down a little bit. Then the next thing that we would do is we would reorganize them into groups of 3, and we could make the same kinds of decisions there. So we have 1, 2, 3. And we could say, which ones don't you want? Because it's often easier to say, I don't like that, before it is to say, yes, that's the one. Because you might have a couple of them that you like for different reasons, but you can easily say, I don't want that. I also use this process, this method of thinking in my personal life. So if I do make a to-do list, which I do a lot of days. I don't do it so I can get the check boxes marked off. I do it just to unload from my mind. But when you start listing everything, when I first started making to-do lists, one of the things I would do is I would get so overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I've got 20 things on here. What is the first one that I'm going to do? And I would feel really overwhelmed because as I was going through the list, I thought of 5 more. And then I thought of 3 more. And instead of picking what was the most important thing for me to do that day, I was just creating a longer list. And so that's when I started tapping into, how do I help buyers make decisions when I was designing fashion? So that's where I stole this technique from. And then my to-do list became like, first, get it all out of my head. Okay. All right, first thing, now I'm going to make a not to-do list. So I would highlight the ones that I'm not doing today for whatever reason. Maybe they're never necessary. I just needed to get them out of my head. Maybe they're like, oh, but it could be a nice bonus if I have time to do it. Or it could be, this deadline's not for 2 weeks. I'm not going to forget it because it's on my list, but I don't have to do it today. And all of a sudden, my to-do list got so much smaller, and then it was so much easier. And then I added a little bit of extra when I did mine. After I made my not to-do list, I put what's the fun to do? So again, it's something I was excited about that I maybe didn't really have to do today, but I didn't really want to put it on the not to-do list because I was excited about doing it. So I would have like a 3 priority, a fun to-do list, And then I would have a whole bunch of not do. And then sometimes there'd be other stragglers that are left on the list, but I didn't really care at that point because I had my mission of what I was going to do for the day. So that's a way that you can break down the overwhelm using some real simple creative principles.